like the Little Prince, but can you click for me, JK? Other people could compare to another gentleman that he admires greatly, which is the famed Hugh Hefner. All right, next slide, please. All right, this is supposed to say the Ishas. Manisha's parents had a nice sense of humor in naming their children. You may know that Manish is the oldest of three. They like to rhyme the names. So it's Manish, Anish, and Nainish. And so they are the Ishas. And so he took his role of being the eldest brother quite serious. And you can see how happy he is in that role. And they remain very close to this day. Next slide, please. Manish is extremely proud of St. Louis, and you can see in this throw that he's doing, he would optimally have this person as his catcher. Next slide, this is Albert Pujols, who sadly is not a catcher, I know, but who sadly defected to the Angels and broke everyone's heart in the Cardinals. But there's other things for St. Louis pride. If you can click for me, the Arch, of course, and we have, click for me again, Budweiser. So those of you that know St. Louis know these things are so important to people from there. Next slide, please. This is an example of a heartthrob, and Manish tried to emulate him during his years. Next slide, please. That this does not compete with that. So next slide, please. Now, this is not Manish. I will just tell you, I wanted to open you all to my world of being married to a surgeon, because when I'm trying to find pictures for this roast, every fifth picture is something like this. So I will defer to the surgeons in the group as to what this is. I think it's a scrotal hernia containing bowel, but I have no idea, and my kids have to see this when we're looking for photos. So I've had to do an early birds and the bees discussion much earlier than I would like. So next slide, please. This is St. Louis circa 1992, and you can see Manish was kind of blending in. So he was like, you know what, I don't want to be just one of many. And this was in Manish's great room. You can see that they have the picture there, but essentially he felt like, you know what, I need to start discovering my voice. And so you would start to see, how is he going to start to break out from this? Next slide, please. All right, before I get into that, those of you from St. Louis are going to recognize this PDF, which is St. Louis is completely centered on high school. If you ever want to seem in the know, if you meet someone from St. Louis, you don't ask them like in Manhattan. We ask you, where did you go to school? You know, college. Where do you work? What's your profession? What's about your take-home pay? That's the kind of Manhattan question. In St. Louis, the question is, where did you go to high school? And it's very bizarre to most of us, but someone even came up with this wonderful PDF where you start here and you go down this complicated formula, and essentially, are you Catholic? Well, unfortunately, Manish, for whatever reason, did not get that question right. And so he went down the yes thing, and somehow he ended up, are you one of 12 children? Are you a dude? No. Yes. Are you going to get, if you want to be the mayor? No. Do you think you're the shit anyway? Yes. So he ended up at St. Louis Priory, which is considered one of the top Catholic schools in, I think everyone is going to agree with me because there's a high Priory contingency here today, but essentially, yes. So he ended up at St. Louis Priory. Okay, let's go to the click. Yes, that's where he is. Next one. Here is Hinduism, right? And this is, and click for me, please. I think we would struggle to find the number of relatives between this, but Manish is probably the most versed on Catholicism of any Hindu that you could ever meet. And in fact, he graduated #1 in his class in religion and Latin studies. So ask him anything on that topic. Okay, next slide, please. This was his class in Priory of 1993. And those of you who visit St. Louis and have heard about the news of St. Louis is pretty old-fashioned. So what they did was, out of his class of 160 or so, they essentially took 10 or so of the top students and essentially pulled them out of the riffraff and would give them their own photograph, and they called them the A set. Manish was in this set. The rest of them, during this photograph, were somewhere in the monk basement being beaten for their lack of intellectual aspirations. I met some of these on the streets of St. Louis when I've come back to return. But anyway, this is the A set, and some of you are here tonight who were in this A set. I had to paste Wilson's face in because he was temporarily kicked out of the A set, but allowed back in after a brief period. But anyways, next slide, please. Here you can see Manish, and he looks distracted in the picture, and you have to wonder, what's he thinking? What would that young, adventurous man be thinking? And click next. I wonder what the photographer's overhead for this shoot is. So early on, Manish was calculating and thinking, how can we save money? How can we do more with less? Click to the next slide, please. But again, you also notice he has this debonair look to him, and click for me, please. You can see he has a striking resemblance to another handsome young man. So click for me, please. He, of course, with these good looks and intelligence, had a lot of luck with the ladies early on in St. Louis, and not so much though early on, as this young lady wasn't so enthralled. So he had developed some skills at Priory with this. Okay, next slide, please. All right, I'm just scattering these in. I happened to see this while I was going through pulling slide pictures. Again, I have no idea what it is. It looks like dinner, but it's totally disgusting. So next slide, please. All right, and you can take the boy out of St. Louis, but you can't take St. Louis out of the boy. And a lot of his friends and loyal colleagues, you can see, came to our wedding, and he's kept in touch. And almost all of that A set has moved now to Manhattan, so we see them a lot. Okay, next slide, please. And that's Wilson with Manish. Okay, click. Again, random picture. Keep going. All right, so he moved from St. Louis, and he wanted to be Bright Lights Big City, so he ended up in New York City in 1993. Those of you that were here in the 90s, I was not in 93. You can remember the porn in Times Square, kind of the Twin Towers still there, and we've got like a raunchy Times Square. Next slide, please. And this was Columbia. Lauryn Hill was attending at the time. It was a hip place to be. Next slide. Yes, that's right, the class from Columbia. His dislike of smiling was mastered very early in life, and click for me, please. One of Manish's early heroes that he decided to quote in his med school application essay is Ted Kaczynski, otherwise known as the Unabomber. I am not lying about that. It was not until his wife came into his life. That may explain why he got into 2 med schools, despite being at the top of his class at Columbia. Note to everyone here, please advise your children not to quote the Unabomber in their application essay to medical school. Okay, next slide, please. He was not a hero. He did quote, I don't know what he said. He said something intellectual, and it was profound, but you don't quote the Unabomber. So he mastered the gangsta persona. Here he is. You can see him with some friends at Columbia. They're all like looking pretty hard. And if it reminds you, click for me, please. Not in that way. Of the Godfather crew, he started liking his hard rap at this time. Next slide, please. Okay, and he started organizing trips. So if you click for me, please, he organized, I know it's fuzzy, I was trying to digitize it, but this was his crew. Neil, I think you're in here. I think some of your boys, this is when you guys all went to Puerto Rico in 93. And actually, Manish is a travel agent. You may not know that, but he's had multiple odd jobs. He was a used car salesman. He was a line cook, and he's also a travel agent, he's an EMT. He did this all in high school and learned and mastered these side trades. And so he helped to organize this, and you can click for me, please. Discount. He's very good at getting a discount. All right, click for me, please. All right, despite all that party planning and managing things, he managed to graduate in 97. Here's some of his pals from Columbia during that time, many of who actually came up today from Maryland to be here with them. So we thank you very much for that. Click again. And again, this is his loyal Columbia friends coming to support us at our wedding. Okay, click. I don't know what this was, some kind of fistula or something. I don't know. Some of you may probably recognize.
I love this slide. This is amazing.
This is like your life, half of you guys in this room. This is not my life. All right. So this was actually, believe it or not, this was our first pic together, 1997 on the Booze Cruise. We were trying to take a nice photo, and he kind of photobombed us at the time. Little did I know my future was going to be entwined with this guy shortly after that. Okay, next slide, please. And you can also notice his fashion choices haven't really changed. Livia has tried to help with this, which I've appreciated. We did get rid of the grommet pants, but here you go. Click. Same one about 5 years later, click again. Very similar, and this wasn't too long after that, but I think I have destroyed all of these shirts at this point. All right, click for me, please. Many of you may not know, but he has some amazing decorative abilities. Those of you who went to med school with us would remember how he likes to design. So click for me, please. The velvet tiger on the wall, and the, click for me again, the Budweiser towel. Also, it was actually hanging on the wall as well, but this is, so for those of you who've come to our house and seen our IKEA decor, it is a step up. So that is, we have advanced, just not a lot. Okay, click for me, please. And of course, he was in student council with Chris, and this was the student council office, which they used for the great purpose of soliciting parties during med school. And this was, of course, the posse. A lot of you are here tonight. Dennis, Hegday, Kumar, thank you guys for coming. Tejas couldn't make it, but this has been his loyal posse through the years, and we thank you for coming. Okay, click now. All right, he stayed active with his travel agency, and Nudge, I know you're here, and Roberto, and he planned a trip to Florida during med school around 1998. All right, keep going. Again, I don't, yeah, some hernia of some type. Okay, now he's based at Bellevue, the oldest public hospital in the United States. Click for me, please. And again, yes, this is that photo from surgical residency. They all look a lot younger, and he's smiling, right, JK? He's smiling. Okay, next slide, please. All right, this is the true Bellevue experience, right? You get the multiple languages, and this is where my job comes into play. I get to read these, but Manish, click for me, please, gets to remove these. So, I don't know, do you all know what that, yes, it's a dildo in the rectum, right? So, quite large and in charge, only at Bellevue. Okay, click for me, please. And of course, here's his surgery colleagues here. This was during his time at Bellevue, and click again. Dr. Pachter, these are a lot of the chiefs that Manish grew up with, and I know that a lot of you guys came. Thanks very much today. Click for me again. And of course, his first intro to bariatrics, Doctors Christine Wren and Fielding, thank you for coming as well. They actually took him under their wing as well, and really, even as a resident, they host us at their house and really kind of opened their arms to us. Click for me again. And of course, Dr. Pachter, his mentor, his inspiration to go into surgery, his passion, and just wonderful teacher who's taught all of us so much. Click for me again, please. And he's really kind of led him and looked after him through his career, and we're all just very grateful to him. Click again. And of course, his old goal to be attending of the year was achieved as a resident. So he didn't need to worry about that as an attending, but this new goal, really, he wants to be a top doctor in America. Click for me again, but it's proven elusive, so I don't know if that is going to ever turn out. Okay, click for me again. Just random stuff. Click again. So we had our wedding in St. Louis, right, during this time after we were residents. Click again. I don't know what that is. Click again. And we've all seen this look, so what is Manish thinking? And I'll tell you, it's not good, right? And if you click again, he thinks of himself as the essential Biggie Smalls. Click for me again. Yeah, you know that quote, F the world, don't ask me. Everything you get, you gotta work hard for it. I think I've heard that like a million times. So of course, Manish spends a lot of time at work, and he has this work wife that is just so frustrating. And actually, no, I don't mean that one. Click for me, please. Of course, this is his work wife. Click for me again. Here they are. Actually, this is a photo during their residency when they were trolling the hallways at Bellevue looking to operate on people. And they would just troll up and down the hallways, and there would be people who, I think there was a poor man who had no mental function, he had an abdomen, no one was touching him, they were like, yes, we will operate! And they would operate on it because they just loved to operate. Click for me again, please. And here's his current team. Patty joined Aku, who actually was his mentor at Columbia during his fellowship and joined us here at NYU. Click again. And of course, his whole bariatric Bellevue team, who is his true family as well here, Livia, Lewis. And this is his future job if Bellevue doesn't work out. Click again. I don't know what that is. And of course, life creeps in, click, click, click. This is all of our kids that we had throughout the years. Click again. And of course, multiple visitors. Click. You're just gonna have to keep clicking because there's so many. I just wanted to show the influx. So click, 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 click. You came, yes, and then they grow up fast.
So baby.
Right? And so click again. I think there were more clicks on the visitors. I'm sorry, Mucka Mama, I had you in there, but it didn't show for some reason. And we wouldn't be here without this family. Here is Mucka Mama who came and visited, and of course his parents and brother. Click again. And these are his brothers now. Click again. And of course, fun shows that we do with the family. Click again. Time in New Year's Eve with his parents and brothers. Click again. And here's to 40 more fantastic years. So,